Hmm. This is not terribly exciting. Hmm. Oh, dear me. I don't even know. Is this on? People even hear me? Well, if anybody can hear me, just let me know because my goodness, does this stink? Oh, you can hear me. Oh, good. Uh, oh my gosh. What a, yeah, I thought everything was working. I was wrong. I was wrong, but I'm here. And apparently I can use this camera and this camera alone. So let me rearrange some things. Oh, maybe. Oh, I want to sneeze. Hold on. Pardon me. That was probably loud and unpleasant. All right. Uh, yeah. Um, uh, so I had tested something. This is something new. Yeah, of course it's something new, right? But give me just a second. I will try. It's probably gonna screw up here. Yeah. I don't know if you can even see that, but it's not ideal. Uh, okay, we're gonna get rid of you. Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm going to now add a device. It looks like you still get me in a circle. So it is what it is. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All right. This is far more dramatic than I intended. I think I can still get. Oh, there's a chat. Oh my gosh. So how's everybody? Let's see. Does this work? Okay, sort of. I mean, I can sort of do that. I want this to be above that though. There we go. From our project. Ooh. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I appreciate that. I wish that you would have warned me. So, what else do we have? Yeah, sorry. The other video did actually start, but then it failed. Scott, yeah, I am on Debian, and actually Debian is working incredibly well here. Here's the issue. Um, I had OBS working great, and I had no problems with OBS, but the OBS that is in the Debian repositories does not support browser overlays, which means two things for the live stream. One, the countdown clock is a web overlay. That's just a JavaScript clock. And also the these little pop-ups these are web overlay as well. And so I'm like, oh, well, that's not, I don't know why it's not included in the Debian repository. Probably something about freeness or whatever. It's not outdated. Honestly, it's a very recent version of OBS, but the Debian team has decided that the embedding the Chromium code that is in OBS, which allows for browser overlays, is somehow not acceptable. I had forgotten about those things regarding Debian, that Debian is like that about things. But anyway, so I had to install like 15 minutes before the live stream started Flatpak. And I'd never used Flatpak before. I'd used Snaps in Ubuntu, didn't care for them. Flatpaks, I'm like, whatever, it's fine. So this is a Flatpak, which is the full like blown thing, but apparently there are issues with Flatpaks. One, the Flatpak can't seem to access the NVIDIA card for hardware encoding. So that doesn't work. And then software encoding, for some reason, it freaks out with video for Linux with my really nice Sony cam and the HDMI. I even tried a different HDMI to USB device. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I didn't think there would be that big of a difference going from the repository version to a Flatpak. Maybe I'll compile it myself because that's the Linux way. But honestly, everything else is working really, really amazingly well. So I as far as that goes, it's like cool. Yeah, things seem to be working really, really well. So, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. So anyway, yeah, right now, what I ended up doing is I installed Debian. It's actually Bookworm. I like the so I was a Debian person a long time ago, and I always like to use the testing repo. And I actually haven't changed the name from Bookworm to testing, but currently Bookworm is the testing version. I'm gonna try to lower this so I look more at the camera. All right, so hopefully my voice is still loud enough, and I'm looking directly at the actual camera now. We'll see how it goes. But what was I saying? Oh, I installed. It was headless, right? I mean, no, just the text only interface, and then I installed just the X Windows program. Got that to start with literally just an X term. And then I did all of my NVIDIA settings work, which is like Xrandr, if you're familiar with Xrandr. It's okay if you're not. That's a weird thing to be familiar with. But NVIDIA settings actually takes the place of Xrandr for the proprietary stuff. So anyway, I have this long NVIDIA settings thing that I set that actually gets my screens to the exact right dimensions, which is cool. And in the right scale and the right rotation and right location, and everything is working there. And then I just installed IceWM, which is just a Windows manager, not a desktop manager. And I talked about this in the video from yesterday that I posted. But anyway, it's been rock solid working. My windows actually work as they're supposed to work. Everything that I had been testing worked, including OBS. I mean, OBS was recognizing my video devices better than Ubuntu was. Like with Ubuntu, I had to like stop OBS and restart it, but this one was just working well. And then, like I said, last minute I installed the Flatpak thing, and it has issues with the hardware drivers and also apparently with video for Linux. Although it doesn't have a problem seeing this webcam. I don't know what I don't understand what the difference is there, but there is definitely a difference according to OBS and Flatpak land. So I purposefully did a weekend assignment that I wouldn't have to go over too much, like a solution, because I already had the one done because I had been having such problems. I don't know if anybody saw the articles that I written for Linux Journal years back, but you know, there's still the one is a pretty good primer to PHP in general, and the other one was the dashboard thing. And actually, I made sure that I could use the dashboard. So let me, I can actually do that. Bring it down here. You can't see what I'm doing yet, but I'm doing stuff, I promise. All right, I'm going to try to switch sources here. All right, we're back to this. Okay, so you can hopefully now see and hear me, I hope. Hope everybody can see me and hear me. Yeah, looks like the thing is working. Let me make sure that this works here. Oh, good. I can still pop up stuff too. Anyway, this is just my regular browser, so I get to see my bookmark tabs with all my things on it. But sugarfreehammer.com is a domain that I bought because I was on Floss Weekly, and I don't even remember where I came up with. I think it was something that doesn't make sense, and sugar-free hammer. It's a feature that makes no sense and so I bought sugarfreehammer.com. Anyway, I decided to use that to host this is the thing that was in that article. So there is something that is interesting that doesn't work, or at least it didn't when I tested earlier, but Unix time, you click on that and that works, and you'll notice up here that it actually just, all the button does is change the URL with the command equals time. And then it just runs the PHP code that is on that website. If you haven't, here, let's snar code WA8. So yeah, if you haven't gone to this website, this is the Linux Journal article where I talk about the family dashboard. When they formatted it for the magazine, these little arrow things, I don't know why those were put in, but if you copy and paste it, you got to get rid of those. I mean, that's not how code works. I don't know why Linux Journal did that when they published it, but you have to get rid of that. Same thing. There's one down here. And anyway, this is just the code that I put in. And sure enough, the Unix time works. That's the current Unix time. It'll show you the kernel name. You can see my server name is Caddy. I'm running everything on Caddy because I'm a big Caddy fan. The Bing photo, the Bing photo today still works. And I love that they haven't changed it. It actually still works every day. In fact, I have a cron job that has been downloading the Bing photo of I have my nerdling glasses right over my face on the stream. That's interesting. That's kind of funny. Anyway, I have the Bing photo of the day downloading every single day. And let me see if I can see how many I have. I don't have, let's see, file tools. Yeah, there's Thunar. Down here, cool. Very convenient. Right now it's in the stuff folder, I think. Daily Bing. Yeah. And so I have been downloading the Bing of the day since the day before my birthday, 7/18 of 2017. And I'm guessing if we go over to, let's see, when was this published? May of 2017. So yeah, right about that same time is when I started just putting a script in a cron job to download the Bing photo of the day every single day. It looks like I didn't do it until July, the cron job. But anyway, yeah, and I use this as the folder of rotating backgrounds on all of my computers, like all of my like laptops and desktops and everything. I always rotate the background image, and that's what background image I use. It's always the Bing photo of the day. So that was a nice little sidetrack. But anyway, so yeah, it gets the Bing photo of the day. This is the one that didn't work for me earlier. Yeah, so it doesn't work. And I don't have PHP errors turned on, but it would probably give us an error here. And in one of the articles, I actually tell you how to turn on error codes. But let's just go over to here. I'll clear this so you don't see all my stuff, and then I'll move it down. All right, can everybody see this? It's kind of small. Can I zoom in? There you go. Zoom in. Zoom in. All right. So again, this is just my Linux desktop here, but if you look at the code, if we look at this code down here, yeah. So I'm sorry, yeah. PHP areas equals EL, and the thing is, I'd have to look. I don't remember how to do that in Caddy and PHP FPM. I haven't turned on errors in Caddy, maybe ever. Maybe, I mean, I've always done it in Apache, so I don't know. I don't even know how to do that. So that's something that I would have to Google. But let's just look at the code, because what the code does, if we look at the switch. So the first thing is the command variable, and if we look over here, the command that it was sent is weather, and so over in the code here, in case of weather for the command variable, then it just echoes the results from http wttr.in, and then with the option variable as whatever comes after the slash. And then option is just that. It's just the option that we sent here. And the option here is Houston, because Linux Journal was a Houston based company. And so that's where I put that. Anyway, and it would just get that. So let's see what is going on. There. Move this around. Okay. Do I have curl installed? I'm not even sure. Nope. Oh yeah, I do. Okay. So if we were to do curl http wttr.in Houston, what we see is that they're running out of queries to the weather service, and so that's why we didn't get the results. And so I actually expected this must be, yeah, I don't know why this didn't just appear on the screen. I actually don't remember how it should work. I'm a little surprised that just this didn't appear on the screen. But maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was an error. You'd think that this would just be what we would get. What if we, can I open the link? Oh yeah, it looks like nothing shows on the screen. Oh. Yeah, I don't know why we didn't eventually get that over here. It must have timed out. Anyway, but that's the reason it isn't working. So yeah, that's my dashboard. My favorite part of it is still the Bing photo of the day. That it gets that, which I just think is stinking awesome. And yeah, Shane, sorry about that. Obviously, things are not going like they should, because now, in fact, this is as big as we get as a face cam, because my other one just falls apart. Everything is bad and horrible and rotten. So we're just moving past it, and I'm going to solve that. Future Sean has to solve that problem. So anyway, did anybody come up with any cool dashboards? It's okay if you didn't. I mean, it was even if you just played it, anybody play with it and come up with anything remotely fun, or find any things that were stumping them, that sort of a thing. I'm just curious. If not, we can talk more about Linux and frustrations. I'm well versed of late. All right. You know what? That's all right. It was an assignment that required you to have like a web page up and running, so I do understand that. And Mason, yeah. So Mason, I don't know if you got a chance to read the articles that I posted in the weekend assignment, but I'm the same way. I am not good at I am just not good. Let me hold on a second. All right. My hair light is designed for the camera that is in front of me instead of the camera that is down here. So, Yeah, I'm not good at coding either. Now, I did have to end up learning PHP, but it was as somebody who was not a programmer. And so that first article should just be able to, once you start making PHP or whatever, whatever programming language, but whatever, once you start making it do something, it's kind of cool. And you like, expanding is a little bit easier than starting from scratch. At least I think so. And so, yeah, it can be a lot at first though. And so something fun like the idea of just a dashboard or just a page that does something interactive. That's why I like PHP, because for some reason PHP feels more like you're actually creating something rather than like the hello world command line stuff. Like if you learn Python and you like make it print something to the command line, it's not quite as rewarding as like an actual web page rendering in real time. For some reason, that just makes a huge difference to me. Like it's like a GUI interface, but it's just web stuff. That just makes it a lot easier for me, or a lot easier to appreciate. Mason, I can make it error. Make which one error? Oh wait, maybe I missed something up there. Uh, um, yeah. So yeah, I can make things error pretty much in general, especially my Linux computer the last couple of weeks. Eddie, I write DevOps tools for my company to make things easy for bouncing services on our cloud instance if things go wonky. Yeah. So it's funny. I taught DevOps courses for CBT Nuggets for a couple of years. Like I was the DevOps guy. I did like Puppet, and I did Ansible and Chef and Docker, and I taught a bunch of those courses. And of all of them, Ansible is the one that I truly enjoy. I think it thinks like a system administrator more than a developer, if that makes sense. I find I don't use it as much, and I don't have a good reason why I don't use Ansible in my everyday work. I think possibly for my everyday work, since it's such cutting edge stuff that the systems that I administer, automating stuff, knowing that half the time the expected output will fail. I think that's why. It seems like I have to fix every single action every time I do something, and so I think that's why automating it was just asking for pain. So I didn't do that. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Oh, congrats, Shane, on the new job starting tomorrow. That's awesome. Um, and automation, I do like automation, and you're probably going into a position that has established automation frameworks already. If you're allowed to say, I'm curious what sort of frameworks um, you're going to be using, or if maybe you don't know. I mean, that's possible too. Yeah. So, and again, PHP is just the one that I was most comfortable with because I got immediate GUI interactive results, if that makes sense. But as far as programming languages go, yeah, it's not the best. Probably, I'm still like everybody else, suggests Python for learning a language. If you want to get a job, JavaScript. My goodness, there are just every JavaScript um, developer seems to be able to get a job any place they want and pretty much just name their salary. I don't know if that's true right now, but JavaScript is weird. Like I had to change the code to in so the okay, let me try this again. The circle countdown thing at the beginning of the live stream, that counts down. That's just a little JavaScript app. It's called Circle Timer or something like that. And you set a date and it will count down to that date. Well, I got tired of editing the code every single week to count down to the next Sunday. So I just changed the code so that it counts down to 3 p.m. my time every day for the current day. Like it just pulls the current day, and then every day it counts down to 3 p.m. So, I can just always load it up and it's going to count down until 3 p.m. But trying to figure out how to do that with JavaScript, it just did not make sense to me. So yeah, JavaScript in general is pretty awesome to learn. Can error with NVIDIA. Yeah, I will tell you what. I wish that I could just use xrandr tools, but I just can't. It just, you can use it for some things, but not all things with NVIDIA. Yeah. New and unknown. All right. Well, excited. You have to, if you're allowed to, you should report back to everybody to see like what sort of tools you're going to be using, because I'm just curious, just pure morbid curiosity on my part. Oh, very cool. Yeah. That there's a bunch of them, and it's funny too now, because automation means so many different things depending on who you're talking to, and the term DevOps has become so generic that it basically just means IT at this point. I mean, so there's a little bit of frustration for me there, but yeah, I mean, automation could, gosh, it could mean anything. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing how it goes. Yeah, I've never used Terraform. So, yeah, I've just never used it. And JavaScript or TypeScript, yeah, I mean, yes. And I worked for a company. It was an offshoot of another company, but anyway, and all of their stuff is in JavaScript, like everything is anymore. Running Node.js for local and server side and clients, all this stuff. But yeah, they did use TypeScript for a lot of the stuff, because apparently it's an easier thing. I don't know enough about it to talk intelligently, other than I get your reference that more people are using TypeScript now than JavaScript, and supposedly TypeScript is easier to grok, if you will. Terraform is fluent, lots of language specific things. Ansible's platform fluent and opinionated, so you're working with different schema. Yeah, cool. So Scott, yes, and I think, I don't know if it was developed specifically for Docker, but that's the beauty of Alpine Linux, is that it's so stripped down. It has a very small footprint, so a lot of times, well, my audio is working. I don't even know what that was. A lot of times if you don't need the system to do much except host an application, we'll use Alpine Linux as the base operating system inside the container, just because it's so small. It doesn't take a lot of resources. As far as using it like in an interactive basis, that would be rough. That would be a lot of I mean, obviously there's no GUI anything. It's just a very, very stripped down. I think it's better than BusyBox, but still pretty small as far as interactive stuff goes. It's a great platform for hosting something like, a Node.js application or that sort of a thing. So yeah, Alpine Linux is pretty cool. I mean, that's kind of why I went to Debian. I mean, Debian is a pretty stripped down, if you don't install anything but Debian itself, it's a pretty simplistic operating system. And in fact, right now, when I launch my GUI environment, I literally type start X on the command line, like I did back in the late 90s. And I have a .x session file that actually I put all the stuff I want to launch in there. So, okay, should we go down a nerdy X Windows sort of thing? I have, where did I do with did I close? Oh no, it's still here. So if we look, what is it? X resources. Yeah. So, I had to put in my X resources file, that I wanted my DPI, the default DPI for, applications to look for, so they know how big to make their fonts. I had to put this in there because since X Windows sees all 4 of my screens as one giant screen, it's like display 0. It thinks that I have one monitor that is like, 7,000 pixels wide. And so it uses that size to automatically determine how many dots per inch it should make fonts. Not every application does this. Some applications, have their own, like Chrome, or I use the Brave browser. They somehow figure out their size all on their own. But with most, maybe half the applications that you might launch, they honor the X Windows font settings. And without setting this to 96, it was using, I don't even know, like, I have no idea what the calculated dots per inch for the fonts were, but it was ginormous. I mean, like, on my 30-inch screen, every word would be, like 3/4 of an inch tall. It was just ridiculously unusable. So I had to figure out, okay, how do I tell X Windows that I want it to use a smaller dots per inch font by default? And normally you would use xrandr, and xrandr space dash dash DPI space, and then the DPI that you want, and it would just set that into your environment, and then they would honor that. But I can't do that for some reason. I'm guessing because of NVIDIA. And so I did find that putting it in my X resources file in my local home directory allowed it to honor that. So anyway, that was one thing that I solved today. But yeah, so let's get out of here. When I launch my system, I just use startx, and it reads the X session file in my home directory. And here, this is actually where I set all of my, so when X Windows starts, if you do it this way, it just executes the things in this file, right? And that's it. So in order to test it at first, I just put inside this file the word xterm, and it would just start an xterm window. And that was my entire X Windows session. Okay. And yeah, Eddie, exactly. I mean, exactly, late 90s. I mean, that's how your stuff started, but it's been working more reliably than any of the desktop environments that I've been playing with. But anyway, so I got everything working. I made sure that it would have worked with just putting xterm in here. And then I decided, okay, so that was working. I got it working. And then I just started putting stuff. So this is the NVIDIA settings that I have to use to get my 4 monitors to work. It scales them. Like, if you look really close, you can see, DPI 5. This is the virtual resolution that it, no, where is it? Yeah. So this is the resolution that it uses, but it exports it into my screen, which is actually this big. And it's a 0.8 scaling factor for my big monitors. But then up here, this is my vertical monitor. And so I scale this one, which has a native resolution of this. I scale it to this because I want things to be smaller on that one. And so, yeah, it's, oh, no, thank you. If you look, yeah, hold on. Please stand by. I'm so sorry. Okay. So remember all that stuff I just said? This is what I was talking about. This is you didn't even see my X session file. Oh my gosh. All right. Anyway, or my X resources file. Anyway, this is my X session file. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Oh man, if I could see the screen everything while I was looking, if I had my camera right there where I could see what I was doing, but I don't. My camera's down here now. Anyway, this is what I was talking about. So NVIDIA settings, if you look here, I like scale some of them, and this one I scale the other way. This is my vertical one. I rotate it, and it's scaled so that it looks smaller than it really is, and these look bigger than they really are. So anyway, I do all that, and then I have to, so IceWM, the Windows manager that I actually really like, and I used it back in the day, and it's surprisingly still working now. It will put the taskbar on your main window, but you can't move it. You can only put it on the main window. And so I had to tell NVIDIA to set the Xinerama info order, that DP, my DisplayPort 4, which is the monitor that's right in front of me here, that is the first one in order. So it would be my main monitor. And that way my taskbar would appear on the correct monitor. It's so insane how manually I've had to do this. And then Debian has this annoying thing where Debian doesn't load your dot profile, even though it's supposed to when you first log in. For some reason, it does not. It's supposed to and it doesn't. So anyway, I have to source my dot profile so that it will change my path settings. And yes, I could put my path settings in my dot bash rc, but that's not how you're supposed to do it. And so it bothered me. So anyway, I load my dot profile. Then I put X screensaver. I still haven't launched my X Windows session yet, right? This is all just setting up X Windows so that it's working. I set up X screensaver so that it launches, and then this ampersand puts it in the background so that it keeps going. And then finally I start my XWM or IceWM session, and it will launch IceWM. And then when I exit IceWM, it goes back to the terminal window. I'm actually going to install NoDM, which is a display manager. So rather than logging in, I just want the computer to boot right to X Windows for me because it's just me in my office. So anyway, yes. And yes. So if you go to the Debian message boards, which I don't recommend, they can be incredibly unfriendly there. They can be very helpful, but they can also be very unfriendly. But yes, so dot profile is supposed to load during a login shell, but yes, Eddie hits it is due to a TTY session thing. It's a long story. It should load dot profile. And yeah, if I said that on the message boards, I would get flamed out of existence. But I think that it should load the dot profile on a login shell, but it doesn't because of reasons. Other operating systems, other distributions do. But anyway, so I just load it there. And then it starts my IceWM session, and that's how I get into Windows. Oh, you know what? And this is another annoyance of mine. Visual mode. I have to change my Vim settings. I hate it. It's trying to like do a combination of be GUI and like Vim is trying to be GUI friendly. I don't know why the default to do that was in there, but look, so I'm in VI in a command line window, but look, if I click up here, it'll move my cursor, but I don't want it to act like that. I just want to be able to copy something. Sorry, that's just a rant. So I'm going to quit out of here. This is what I was trying to show you before. In order to get my font sizes correct, I had to put into a capital X resources file this xft.dpi and then what DPI I wanted, because since display 1 is all of my screens put together, it thinks it's an enormous screen, so it makes the fonts way too big. And so that's where I set that. And yeah, Scott, you're absolutely right. And I did. So there's more frustration there too. If you set a preference in your .vimrc, it will override the global preferences file. So if you want to keep the global standard preferences for most things, you have to copy it from the etc vim rc file or wherever it is, and then edit that so that you still get all of them, because it doesn't just change the one setting. Like if you just put one setting in there, it's like the vim rc setting is like set mouse minus equals a, and that stops visual mode from working. But it doesn't just override that one setting. If you have a file, it overrides all of the system settings and will only apply your settings, and it's annoying as crap. So yeah, so I need to do that anyway. That's where we are. If anybody does end up making like any Python PHP projects and you want to share it with the group, go ahead and just post it in the weekend assignments channel in the Discord, because I'd love to see what other people create. When I wrote that article for Linux Journal, I was hoping that somebody would send me a link like, oh, hey, check this out. I made this. This is my homepage that I made. But nobody ever did. A lot of times I would get feedback from articles, but this wasn't one of those times. So yeah. Anyway, what else? Oh, I guess it's already been 45 minutes. It helps when you can't get your stream working for the first 10 minutes. Oh, any other questions or anything? Any good resources for doing PHP? So this is going to sound horrible, but I have written some shockingly elaborate PHP programs in my time. Uh, Things that actually PHP doesn't do, like multi-threaded things, but I actually Googled like multi-thread PHP, and there's a way you can like have it. Gosh, I don't even, it's been years now since I wrote it, but like it calls another process. And so it'll like spawn a bunch of PHP processes. And then each one will work on a single thread and then return. And I don't remember exactly how it happens, but they don't natively do multi-threaded things. But I had to, at the time I was working for a bunch of, at a place working on a bunch of embedded devices. And I had to use PHP to query the device's API. So it was a web API, and I would query the API, but there was like 1,400 devices. And if PHP went through and queried them one at a time, I wanted a new information every minute. So I would query every minute, but it took like 15 minutes if I went through one at a time and queried them all. So I had to come up with a way to query them all at once. And so it was that thing where it would like spawn off another process. And I honestly don't remember how I did it, but it would do 1,400 PHP processes, which again, I had to scale the PHP server so that it would handle, that many processes going on at once, but then I would get it back in a matter of seconds. So anyway, and Eddie's probably right. Yeah. And that's probably exactly what I did. I just don't remember what I did. Anyway, but the reason I say that, Shane, I didn't lose track of your question. I think the best way to learn PHP is to have a problem that you need to solve. And maybe that problem is create a cool PHP dashboard. I mean, seriously, whatever the problem is, made up or not. And then, Google, like, okay, I don't know how to do this in PHP. Google it. You'll get a whole bunch of results, look for it, try the code, try it out, see if it works. And that's how I learned to be a shockingly robust PHP coder, was just by, I needed to do this and I don't know how to do this. And so I would, Google PHP and then that problem, and then somebody would have something and I'd be like, oh, that's almost what I need. And then I would just like adapt it and do more. So really having a problem to solve and then knowing that you can solve it. You may have to invent, the methodology for solving it, but that's what programming is. And so that's really my recommendation is, if you're a person who learns from a book, there's probably, great books. I don't know, that wasn't me. I get lost in the weeds, and, I don't want to start with Hello World. I want to start with with half broken code and figure out why it's broken. I want to fix stuff. I want to solve a problem. And so that's my recommendation, is to find a problem or make up a problem and then figure out how to solve it. Yeah, same thing with Bash. I mean, that's the same thing. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I learned a lot of stuff with Bash, is like, okay, I need to store stuff in an array now. How do I store stuff in an array with Bash? Does Bash do that? Do I need to invent arrays? And it turns out, no, it does arrays. And so, yeah, that's sort of a thing. Yeah, I'm not either. I like having a book for reference, but then I find that Google works much better. Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you Google bad responses, right? Like you'll get stuff that's outdated or just wrong, or you think it's what you need and it isn't. But yeah, that's how I've learned to be a pretty good PHP coder. It's not something I do every day, so I mean, I have to re-Google. Even when I edit my own code, I'm like, holy crap, I used to be smart. I don't know how I managed all this, but yeah, it's the same thing. I just muck with existing code. And that's another thing about open source that's really nice, is you can get something that does something close to what you want, like on GitHub. Like, I mean, this isn't really what I need, but they have a lot of stuff in here, and so you just adjust it to do what you need it to do. Yeah, so it's funny, I've been a video trainer for a very long time, and when I'm doing training, and hopefully this comes across to my videos, I try really hard to teach as though I am talking to a person that is sitting right next to me. And I mean, when I am making a training video, I am training you, the person who is sitting right with me at the moment, because that's how I like to be taught. Either that or Googling on my own. But I don't usually learn from video all that much, which is, I mean, that's fine. That's just me. And I would like to be a book learning person, but I tend not to use books. I usually buy books. Like when I would start a new course for CBT Nuggets, I'd always buy a book and be like, all right, and then never crack the cover. Or sometimes I would like look at the book to say, okay, did they cover it as deeply as I covered it? And I mean, I guess so. So I guess we're good. So anyway, for the unloadable profile, Marco said you have to source it. Yeah, it's yeah. So, oh, sorry. So yeah, I mean, but the whole idea of the dot profile is that it loads automatically when you log in with a login shell, and then the bash RC is for an interactive shell that is not a login shell, and yeah, it's it's the kind of thing that is not worth arguing about, but a lot of people like to argue about it. So yeah, I just when I figured out what wasn't working, I just like, all right, and I just did it. So anyway, hit some high level learn. Take a look at Laravel. Create microservice framework by consuming to Laravel. I have no idea what any of these words are. But in general, Eddie tends to be smarter about these things than me, so I would listen to Eddie. Your teaching started as my mentor in college. He was a great designer and mentor. Well, you complimented him and compared me to him, so thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. I find a lot of joy in teaching super boring stuff in a way that makes it seem less boring, if that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to think, so the next video that, I mean, I've sketched the slides and everything. So, I mean, it's not even terribly difficult, video, but, we're going to be using, tools like for, working with XFS file systems and ext file systems and maybe Btrfs file systems, and then how to examine a RAID array. And those are pretty dry topics, but I don't mind teaching them because it's pretty easy to get excited by mundane stuff when you think about, if you actually need to do this stuff, it's pretty awesome stuff, right? Like, I mean, if you have a corrupt XFS partition, all of a sudden those XFS tools are really exciting. And so, yeah, everything in its time, I suppose. Oh yeah. So this is something that's interesting, and this isn't just about Btrfs or XFS or all the things. So, it was even more of an issue at Linux Journal. I would review products. And for example, no, I don't have one here. Do you know the company? I'll spell it first before I say it. But the company I haven't seen them as much anymore, but LACIE, like capital LA, capital CIE. They made a lot of hardware, especially a while back. They probably still do. But I was reviewing a product from them. It was actually speakers. They made these like cool little, they were ridiculous, but they were cool little speakers. And I was reviewing them and I realized I don't know how to say the name of the company. And if I'm making a video, it's actually important that I say the company's name right. They sent me these things to review, right? That was cool. And people would send you stuff to review. Actually, I take that back. Netgate sent me that router to review, which was awesome. Still love the Netgate folks. But yeah, so what I did, I called the company's phone number and I listened to how their automated system answered. And it's LaCie. LaCie. I used to always say Lacey, but I'm really glad I didn't say that in the video. I'm glad that I called, because when the phone's like, thank you for calling LaCie, I was like, all right, now I know. And I hung up. So yeah, let's see. Let's see is how they say it. So yeah, let's see. And see, let's see. Now you know. And that's why I do that. And there's been a bunch of other companies like that. I'm trying to think of some really tough ones that I thought that I would know, and I did wrong. Netgate was pretty easy. Got that one without calling. But anyway, yeah. So that's one of, and I don't know where. Oh yeah, I'm glad that I put this up here because I was like, wait, how did we get here? But yeah, ButterFS. I said BTR, and then I was reading something, and in parentheses it said often pronounced ButterFS, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty slick. ButterFS I like. So anyway, yeah, I know, same thing. Oh, another one. Yes. What's the German distro? SUSE. SUSE Linux. That was another one that I wasn't sure how to say, because here in the US most people say SUSE, like SUSE Linux, like Dr. Seuss. That's like SUSE, but it's SUSE, and yeah, saying SUSE Linux is important when you worked for Linux Journal and you would be like reviewing their stuff. So let's see. I always say Etsy. Because this isn't like a company. There is, I don't think there is an answer here. I'll either refer to it as the etc. folder or the Etsy folder. And usually I'm on video, and so like I'm doing it in the moment, so people will see like what I'm referring to. Mason says etc. Yeah, I generally say Etsy, the Etsy folder, because it's fun. Right? It's just fun to say the Etsy folder. It's not SUSE Linux. I'm telling you, it's SUSE. Oh gosh. Yeah, SUSE is how I heard it for so long from so many people. And actually we use SUSE Linux at Linux Journal. That was the IT guy there. He was named Mitch, and I'm not calling him out. He actually even made a couple of videos for us, but Mitch was a big SUSE Linux fan, and so that's what we actually used on our when we wrote for Linux Journal. So this is a little bit of inside information. To turn in articles, we would either, well, no, to turn in articles, we would email them to Jill, the main editor, but to edit them or to for letters to the editor, she would put them all just in a folder, and we would SSH into a server and edit it with VI. And that's how, so if you ever wrote into Linux Journal and ever got a reply from me or somebody else, probably just me, I think other people would just email Jill, but if you ever got a reply to a letter to the editor, it was just me going in via SSH to the server and manually editing a markdown file with VI, and that's how we did answers to questions. So anyway, yeah, and that was on SUSE Linux. Docker SUSE. I don't know. Does anybody use SUSE Linux? Is anybody a SUSE Linux user? I haven't heard from it in a long time. They have such a cool mascot. Their little lizard guy is just the best. Yeah, I'm sure it's Mitch. Yeah. Oh dear, it's almost, we've almost been in this cobbled together live stream for an hour. I don't know if we've actually covered anything, but yeah. Thanks for those who did find the new one. Sorry that the other one failed, and before next week, I will figure out how to do OBS and Linux in Debian. I hope. Otherwise, I guess I could compile it on my own with the browser extensions, but wow, that would be a real pain in the butt, wouldn't it? That would be the Linux thing to do. We'll have to see. I'll figure it out. But anyway, yeah, I agree. And we did cover a couple things that were fun. Shane, so here's the deal. Okay, I'll close with this. I realize it's like 3 minutes until. Windows had its own set of frustrations, which, I mean, that's why I went to Linux. All of the frustrations that I've had over the past 2 weeks have all been X Windows and NVIDIA and the desktop managers fighting each other. The advantages, though, I have to admit, my backup system is all just, doing rsync with backup PPC. It's stinking awesome. I can manually place windows with WMCTL. And so like when I log in, all of my applications launch, resize to the exact size I want, and go to the exact screen in the exact position that I want, like that. When it's working, it is so incredible. And I feel like now I am super close to how I actually want it. Because I'm not kidding. Mason is kind of right here. I considered yesterday I spent all day trying to get X Windows and NVIDIA and my crazy, admittedly complex screen setup to work right. And I was like, I might just go back to Windows because this is just not worth it. I mean, there's a point where I love Linux, but it was frustrating. And I think that today has been productive enough now, the live stream fiasco notwithstanding. It's been pretty great. And Mason, out of the box, it works pretty good. I'll give you that. But there were some real frustrations that I had. So we'll see. We'll see if this continues to work. And yeah, I feel like the screen part is now working. Like I don't have any issues right now with the issues that I had for the past 2 weeks really do seem to be solved right now. And so now I just have a couple nagging issues like this version of OBS because it's a flat pack, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for coming back to the live stream, even though it was a stupid failed live stream and a half failed restarted live stream. And I will see everybody online. Thanks again. I'll keep posting stuff about my adventure in Linux and the desktop, but as of today, I don't think I'm going to go back to Windows unless things fall apart again. So, yeah, I'll have more news later. And if you're not on the Discord, please head over and join. I'd like to chat there. I see there's a lot of unread messages. Apparently I'm bad at that. Anyway, have a good one. I'll see you next week. See you online, and post links if you do end up doing some PHP stuff. We'd all love to see that. And now, this is that awkward part of every live stream where I have to figure out how to stop stuff, and it's probably going to be more complicated here today. So have a great one, everybody. See you later. Yeah, go to Eddie. It's a little bit like IRC, but less nerdy. Anyway, I'll see everybody online.